Hey, I got a red box on my screen, and that must mean we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Home Organization Challenge. It's Tiffany. I'm really glad to be here with you live this week, and thank you so much for joining me, I guess, virtually. It's always kind of virtually, but with the video last week. I hope there was enough information and you guys were able to get everything that you needed last week from the website. So welcome Susan and Jamie and Kathy and Barb and Linda, Bobby Ann, and who am I missing? I think I was missing Eileen, right? She's maybe at the top of my screen. So you early birds, thanks for popping on straight away. Yeah, so I was kind of hoping, I'm going to apologize in advance for not getting the worksheet posted and out until today. I assumed, I was on this little trip with my husband, and I assumed that I would have internet, and that was a huge assumption. I thought, I could run internet off my phone if the boat doesn't have good internet, but I actually had two problems. One was we were a lot of places where I didn't even have 5G on my phone, so that was a problem. But there were some places where when we were traveling on the boat, I thought I could work, but no, it was it was not. It was like trying to read a book while you're in the car. Well, I know some people can do that. It makes me sick. So the same thing with the boat. I couldn't look at anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't work on my computer screen. I just had to sit back and enjoy the view as we toured around the Puget Sound area, which was really, really lovely. All right, it looks like we've got quite a few people hopped on already. So let's get started because we have an interesting class this week. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've already done and what we should do now, like kind of zoom out and take a look at what we've accomplished and then go back and look at one of those areas. So what we're really building here are systems that are going to create a better environment, an easier environment in the future, right? So today's class, creating and maintaining a future-friendly home, not meaning that we're all going to have robots like the Jetsons, although we probably are, but more of the systems that you're setting up. How are they working? They need to work now and they need to work in the future. And we're talking about building those habits and making things consistent and easy, right? So chapter 11 in the book, for those of you who have the book, deals with this a little bit. It's going to be a great reread if you have already read it, just kind of refresh. But as we're looking at those systems, those things that we've already done, we really want to look at the friction versus the flow. So as your part of the assignment this week is going to be to examine at least one of the things you've already organized and then determine how easy is this to actually use? Does it work the way that I thought it was going to work? Is it as simple as I thought? Are my family members or roommates or whoever on board with it? Is it easy? Does it flow? Or is there a lot of friction? Is it taking multiple steps to get things done? Right? So that's the first thing I really want you to think about as you're examining that system. And then I want you to remember that habits matter more than motivation. So the idea is to turn these practices, the way you organize, the way you keep your home systems running, into habits rather than having to think about getting motivated to do something, right? So we don't want to focus on, motivation is so unreliable. We don't want to focus on decluttering. We want to focus on those systems that don't require us to be motivated. It just needs to become the second nature. And the first part of the important concepts this week, friction versus flow. If it's easy, and for those of you who have been around for the Craft Supply Organization Challenge, also is one of my mantras, right? If it's easy, it gets done. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about, but the easy things get done first. They just do. That's how life works. So you want to make sure that these things flow and that they're easy. And you want to remember that you're building habits and you don't want to build bad habits or difficult habits. So if it's difficult, now is the time to take a look at those systems and say, okay, I thought this was going to work great, but it really isn't working for me at all, right? Because maintenance has to be part of the system. You set it up. Now you have to maintain it, which means that you want to make sure you don't need motivation and that you've got more flow than you've got friction. So this week in the handout, we're talking about those 3 basic concepts, and then we've got two tiny tasks. But before I get into those, I forgot all about announcing the 2 winners. So we have 2 winners because I was gone. So we have Tawny Kelly is our first winner. Look at that beautifully organized space. She's got her basic boxes. She's labeled everything. And she says in her post, thanks for suggesting that I take things out of the boxes so they're easier to see and easier to maintain. I hadn't thought about that. Or she says, why didn't I think about that? And I just want to say this, Tawny, I'm glad that you don't think about it, because then I wouldn't have a job, because it's my job to think about those things. So thank you for being a long time Totally Tiffany 2 supporter and follower, and your space looks amazing. And you are our first winner of a $25 gift certificate. And you just need to reach out to marketing@theorganizedoption.com, and Katie will take care of getting you that gift certificate. That's our first winner. Our second winner, Stacy Coffin, another space that just really looks amazing, simplified, easy, all those things. I mean, I love the before and afters. I'm sure you all do too. There's nothing more fun. I don't know if guys get as excited about it as women do, but we all love our before and afters. So yeah, really great photos, awesome posts. Thanks so much again for being part of the 2 tribe, Stacy. So good to have you with us. And so, Stacy, you need to reach out to marketing@theorganizedoption.com, and you will get your gift certificate. Katie will set that up for you. So all y'all, you need to put in your progress post. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the best one. It doesn't have to have the best photos. We just want to encourage you to be public, to share what you're doing, and to be motivated to take those next steps and continue. So you can share your progress posts either on our Organized Option Facebook page. There's links everywhere to that stuff, and I'm sure Katie's thrown links up as I'm talking anyway. Or you can email marketing@theorganizedoption.com, and Katie will include you in the drawing for progress post winner every week. So you don't want to miss out on that. Okay, so let's talk about our tiny tasks this week, unless, Katie, you have any questions already. Okay, all right. So our first tiny task is going to be, and so your worksheet kind of lays it out for you. I want you to look at the systems that or the areas that you've organized, make some notes. These are the things I did. I know everybody doesn't do the exact same thing, so you just fill in the lines. Rate that area, right? Rate it on a scale 1 through 5. 1 is great, like it's working perfectly. I love it. I don't need to worry about it. 5 is yikes, this isn't working at all. And that's the ones that you really want to look at this week and tweak them so that things are working a little bit better. So your first tiny task assignment this week is to do that. Choose one area to reset, work through that area, and really think about why it is working, why it isn't working, and try to remember what you were thinking. Maybe if you made notes in your notebook about what you were thinking when you set it up that way, or why you thought it would work. Just really, the process of getting organized is so mental. It's so in your head that really just talking to yourself, working through those questions is really going to make those systems that you develop so much better. So, refer back to your notes from each class if you need to. If you're a good note taker or you made notes while you're going along, it's a great resource. But you want to ask yourself why it isn't working. And then you want to look at the sections that you have said, these are great. Why are those working? What did you do in those areas that is working? So you want to look at what's not working in your yikes areas, and you want to look at what is working in your great or good areas, and then kind of replicate those thought processes to make that work better for you. And then put up your progress post on that, right? So you're going to do 2 progress posts this week. There's tiny task number 1 for week 6, and there's going to be tiny task number 2. So make sure you say which one they are, because we're giving away 2 prizes next week. So give away one for Tiny Task 1 and one for Tiny Task 2. And I want you to keep in mind, my friends, perfect is the enemy of good. So you need a good system, not a perfect system. Don't be hard on yourself because one little thing is out of place or one tiny thing isn't working the way you thought it would. That doesn't give you the yikes status. That's like, wow, this is really great except for this one thing, or this is really good. So be good to yourselves and evaluate yourselves and your systems fairly, and then pick the one. Maybe you're going to do more than one, which was also in the post. I'm sorry, meant to talk about that. Stacy's post was, I was motivated to do more. I was inspired to do more. And that is amazing. And that is what I love about this kind of project, right? That you get inspired and you feel good about it and you see your progress and you move through it. That doesn't mean you're not going to have some failures that you need to go back and look at and reevaluate. And that is tiny task number 1 this week. Okay. So tiny task number 2 this week, we are doing, because it is a tiny task I needed to do myself. And I thought this is the perfect thing to share with the HOC group. So my nightstand, which Katie will throw up some pictures of as I'm talking here. There it is. You can see there's not a lot of stuff on my nightstand, but this is really what it looks like, right? And it's annoying to me because I can't put my water glass on there without moving things around. I can't put my phone on there without moving things around. The little plaid thing that you see is a little pillow that holds my tablet at an angle. So when I am playing Mahjong at night before I go to bed, which I'm a complete Mahjong addict, so I play every night, I just kind of slide it on there, and that means it pushes everything else over on the nightstand. So it's not, and then it will eventually push something else off the nightstand. And when I put my water cup on there and my phone on there, it's going to push something else off. So things regularly get knocked onto the floor, including, you can see I have a little pile of jewelry there as well. That is the number one thing that I knock on the floor when I push this little plaid pillow back. So it doesn't function. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't function at all. So, and that's just the top of it. And the top of it is really not the problem. The problem is the drawers in it. So when you open the drawer and look in there, this is the top layer of the drawer. And you can see, those of you who play Mahjong, I have 2 years worth of Mahjong cards in there. Neither one of them is this year's card. I don't know why I need those. Like, I don't know why they're even in there. Notebooks piled up. And underneath that is another layer of other things. So this drawer for me is everything that we've been talking about through the challenge. It is just where everything goes. It just all gets thrown in there because it's easy. And sometimes stuff gets thrown in there because I'm afraid I'm going to knock it off. And then I forget that it's in there and I can't find it because it's buried under things. So the drawer was the biggest problem in this. And then as I started organizing things, you know, the top was where I started. And I thought to myself, why I have this shelf underneath the nightstand, and that's really where I should be keeping this cushion with my tablet on it. But the cord that I was using is the same cord I used to charge my phone. So they always both end up on top. And so this is part of that process that we talk about, like, what things do you need to make this space function better? And what I needed here was just this little cable adapter. And Katie can throw up a picture of it. I think it's the next one in the reel there. It probably looks weird from Katie. Oh no, maybe I didn't put it up. Nope, that's not it either. Nope. Okay, I go back to where you were then, I guess. So what I needed was this little adapter for my outlet. So I had my phone cable plugged into this little, one prong thing you plug your cable into. I bought an adapter that now holds 3 cables. And so that eliminated the need for me to keep this on the plaid pillow thing on my top. So that was the first thing. Then the next thing was tackling that drawer. And I did what I always tell you guys to do. I emptied everything out. I put it in my black and white bag, which I thought I brought in here because most of what was in there did not belong in there. Right? Most, I would say probably 90% of it. So I got everything out of it. And then I got my basic box templates and kind of started laying out what's going to fit in there. So you can see that some of the bigger items, like, will this fit? Now, if you haven't used the basic box templates before, you just download them off the website, cut them out. Some of them you have to tape together because they're 12 inches long. And then you can just lay them out in your drawers and kind of figure out what's going to fill what space. So that fit perfectly. So once I got them laid out, kind of an idea of what was going to go in each section, then I was able to actually get the basic boxes, put them into the drawer. I connected them together with my Creative Connector tool, of course, which allowed, so the space where you see the thing that's pink, that's a wallet. There's a turquoise blue and pink wallet in there. If you're ever going to rob my house, that's where I keep all my cards that I don't want to carry with me. So you'll know where my voter ID card is and a few other weird things, but that's why those are in there. Like, you're like, why do you have wallets in there? That's where I store cards I don't want to carry with me, but for some reason I can't get rid of. So, but that was an empty space. There's no box there. So I was able to connect the basic boxes together to leave that space. Those wallets are a little too big for a basic box that's 1.5 inches high, but this allowed me to create that perfect space. And that's one of the beautiful things about the basic boxes in general. So that solved the drawer problem. I had put away all the other stuff or get rid of all the other stuff, and some of it was just garbage that was in that drawer. But I'm telling you, I know that drawer is a problem every time that I have to open it. But it is that drawer is everything, every decision I didn't want to make, just like, I just need to get this out of my view. I'm just going to stuff it in here for now. All the excuses, all the thoughts that we've been talking about, that drawer was that for me. So now look, it's all nice and tidy. And I'm going to tell you, all right, you want to go to the next photo, Katie? Let's see what we got. So okay, here's the next thing. And I'm going to have to ask you to go back to the other photo. But so I thought, so on my, I take my earrings out at night, and then I end up putting them on the top of my nightstand. And then they get knocked on the floor when I slide my phone up there, my water glass, or that pillow with my tablet on it, right? So I push things, they fall on the floor, they fall behind the nightstand, they get under the nightstand. We all know what that's like. Like, you're not going to move furniture to get your earring right away, especially if you're already in bed, and then you forget about it the next day, and then the next thing you know, you're vacuuming and you hear something go clink, clink, clink into the vacuum. You're like, I wonder what that was. Oh, it was my earring. All those things, right? We've all had that experience. So I thought, I'm going to put this super cute little dish on my thing, and then I'll have somewhere to put my earrings, right? So I did that. And then I thought, that is ridiculous, because what I'm trying to avoid, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about thinking through your processes, thinking through what you're doing. I thought this would be fun. I even thought, I'm going to put it in this cute little dish right now, and then I'm going to shop for a cute little dish next to Home Goods or somewhere like that. I'm going to find something. And then I thought to myself, no, you don't want anything on the top of your nightstand if you can avoid it, because I'm not going to put you'll see where my tablet ended up in the next picture, but I'm not going to put I'm going to continue to slide my tablet pillow over on there at night and then put it away in the morning, because I'm not going to get up and put it away. I'm still going to have my water glass or whatever that's on there. So if you go back to the next picture, Katie, or the last picture, the previous picture, in the front, I have one little section that I put a couple of earrings in there. I don't know how clear they are on your all screen, but between the watch and the eye drops, there's an empty little section. And that is easy then for me to take my earrings off and throw them into that box. And that will keep me from knocking them or a dish, which is glass or porcelain, and breaking it onto the floor when I slide something on there at night. So what's important, what I'm trying to make sure I'm making clear, is that really thinking about, like, the whole time I was doing this, my frustration with that is that I knock things on the ground. And then here I am putting something extra on there that I was also probably going to knock onto the ground. So keep those things in mind, why you're doing things, how you're doing things. And then even though something might be cute, like a cute little dish for my jewelry, it might be better served to do something different, like I've done here, where I have a little jar. Now, that little box where the jewelry is, also, I sat on my bed and I reached over into that drawer and was like, where is that going to drop? Right. So I didn't put it in the back or in the corner on the other side. I really was like, okay, this is arm's reach. This is where I'm going to just drop those at night. Then it doesn't matter if I leave a pair of earrings or two or three or four. When I go put them away in the closet, I have a little hanging rack for jewelry in there. I can just scoop them out of there and put them all up at the same time. But think about how you're going to use it, where you're going to use it, all those things as you're designing that space. All right, let's go to the next one. Katie, what have we got? Okay, so there is the final of what my nightstand looks like. So you can see my tablet is not is on the bottom shelf now, and there's a secondary cord, and it's behind the nightstand just for the tablet. So I can put the tablet down there, plug it in, and I don't have to fuss with switching between the two cables or have one cable up on the thing that shouldn't really be there because the phone one hangs down the side of the bed. So really just all those processes going through that for the nightstand as our second tiny task this week. And I'm really excited to see and hear about your nightstands when you do your progress posts, because this is something that it was one of the things as I was going through the internet. I think I've told you guys, I've looked for other pictures to kind of share and explain things. And they always look fake and staged, right? There's just either super too neat, too Pinteresty for the neat ones, or too fakey, messed up for the, for the messy ones. And it was interesting because looking at these messy nightstand pictures, there were many, many of them that looked like, yeah, these could be real. This could be what people's homes actually look like. Because of the way we gather things on our nightstand. So keep in mind that nightstand is the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. So what should be on there? For me, my big problem with the top was that I had so many books that they were taking up, a third or maybe even more of the top of my nightstand. And I'm not reading all those books at the same time. So I just kept the books that I'm reading. I put the other books on the bookshelf. I got a whole bunch. I'm learning Spanish. Some of you know that. A whole bunch of Spanish books in there. I never do Spanish, read Spanish in bed. I don't know even how they got there. So like just choosing what am I actually using and how am I going to keep this space contained so I have room for everything else. So that is going to be your tiny task number 2 for this week, for week number 6. Is getting your nightstand organized. And like I said, I can't wait to see what your nightstands look like before and after. It's such and for me, this was awesome. Okay, this is what I was going to say. I did this today, right? Preparing for this class. And just before class, I went back into the house. My office is outside. I went back into the house and I had to go get something out of my room. And I walked in there past the nightstand and I was just like, oh, look at that. That looks so nice. And it was just such a nice feeling and such a little thing, right? So much to like Stacy commented, like you get motivated and inspired and things just feel good when they look good and they're prettier. So, all right. So you've got your assignments. The handouts are available. I will post lecture notes. And of course, we'll put the video up. If you have any questions, now is the time. Do you have anything, Katie? All right, ladies, it looks like, I shouldn't say ladies, there's probably some guys out there too. So, all right, organizers, download your worksheets and your unit number 6 title page for your notebook and get busy evaluating the work that you've already done. And then your second tiny task of organizing your nightstand. So I think that's it, my friends. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Great to see you all here popping up in the feed. Happy to have all of you. And I will see you next Tuesday night at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Take care, everybody.